One of the things that I talked about in my prior broadcast was the fact that I was so disgusted and so fed up, and I was being sort of semi satirical. But I'm not backing down because the overall theme of my lambast, the sub headline, so to speak, was the fact that and is the fact that the Bay Area media based in San Francisco is a joke. And that can't be more evident than what's happening in Los Angeles. What happened, in fact, there's another fire that is taking place, and it's very eerily similar to what has transpired or what transpired a few weeks back in the greater LA basin, kind of a thing. This one's more towards the Grapevine in the area northeast of LA, but it's a joke. And that it took a calamity to illustrate that is regretful, but it's so evident, you know. Here we are, supposedly a top 10 market, and we have this dreck. And no, folks, I'm not going to back down. In fact, I'm going to get even more, as long as I'm still here, and as long as you want to hear what I have to say, which apparently many of you do. And don't, by the way, go by comments or lack comments. Hell, I don't have the comments on the YouTube page itself. I put it on my own page, and not every comment that I get is pubbed. I'm an editor in that regard. I'm not here to get any kind of attention or glory. I'm just telling you the obvious. And I know a lot of you get what I'm trying to say. Not that I'm trying to do that to begin with. I'm just illustrating the fact that this whole absolute travesty that takes place every day with this ridiculous, pathetic, and you can go on and on and on. This alleged media that we have here, we really don't. Our television news operations are ridiculous. Some I'll give credit to because they're just trying to survive. Many of them have fools and imbeciles behind the mics, not just out in the field, but on the desk too. Oh, sorry, the ones that are actually broadcasting from a desk, as if standing up is merely an attempt at revolutionary ideas. Can you imagine that? We're going to stand and have a bank of television monitors. I gave credit to Pix and CBS for trying something new. Well, the honeymoon is over. The fact that here in the Bay Area, near Silicon Valley, no less, that were reduced to two newspapers, one of which is owned by a hedge fund, another which is just struggling to survive, is evident of the fact that it is a joke. It's never has been, and I'm talking about the Chronicle. It never has been taken seriously. The LA Times, for all its faults, for all the fact that it's now regressed for the most part, it's still a decent paper. They try. They still have credible journalists. They don't rely on doing fucking stories about goddamn red burritos and what the latest restaurant has to do with as constitutes real news. They actually cover news. And granted, yeah, the calamity ongoing and now more fire in LA, Southern California is legit news. Here we have an alleged newspaper, which is a joke, the Chronicle, talking about everything and anything other than what is actual news. God forbid, as I have stated here many a times, anything even remotely insane and God forbiddable than what's happening in LA take place here, like a fire, a firestorm, like, God forbid, a terrorist attack, like, God forbid, some earthquake, when then we have to rely upon these amateur assholes for information that we sorely will need. Duh, finally, yes. Yet, right now, in the state that we're in, having to rely on these putzes and schmucks is simply something entirely, oh my Godsville. Who knows this more than I do, folks? Besides some of you, the people that used to work at some of these stations. I ain't backing down. They know. The people that used to work at Cron, when Cron had a legitimate side of itself, the people that used to work at KGO TV, which is now a bunch of assholes and zombies who sit there and do nothing while the alleged leader of their news operation prances about as if she was some kind of a Princess Athena. She has no credibility whatsoever. ABC Disney has written more settlement checks than one can imagine, yet they keep her on the payroll. Why? Probably because she knows a lot of high people up in the ABC Disney trenches. So she's able to stay on. But she's a joke. She's an absolute joke. And she hires these morons, these kiss asses from around the country who coddle to her. And she continues to curry favor with them. So she's able to prance around. Meanwhile, the product is the shits, led by a bunch of dopey dopes, not going to back down. And Cron, well, that's Cron. You get what you pay for. KTVU, I can't say it enough. You have mangled yourself. You have incompetent people working. You've doubled down on morons and nincompoops and idiots who look good and only got the main gig because the company and their alleged, again, another moronic news director and general manager felt they were obligated to put this putz on the desk out of not talent, not news acumen, not, oh, I don't know, the ability to, shall we say, ad lib and comprehend what he was talking about. No, they put him there, folks, because they felt he was entitled to be there. It's a mistake every night. How do I know this? Because of the fact that he continues to be put on, even though he is a complete and utter disaster. Channel 2, shame on you. And yes, I know about the fact that they were bought out by Fox and all that. And they put on these stupid, ridiculous, pathetic little imbecilic programs like it or not. God forbid they put on something that they could talk about the news, talk about news judgment, talk about things that could be still very entertaining and very enthralling and very poignant, dare I say. Instead, they put on this shit like it or not, as if to tell us, oh, we're trying something new, Rich. No, you're not. You're not. Bunch of people that nobody gives a shit about, by the way. Nobody at Channel 2, none of these nincompoop people that they have on who, God forbid, said, you know what, we can't take part in this. This is ridiculous. But you know what? We have to feed the family. So I guess we'll go on and talk about nothing with people who have nothing and people who are only trying to do what they've been told to do and to act like little nincompoops that they are and talk about shit that doesn't make sense. Bad enough, they put this crap dreck on during days when there's legitimate news events, like it or not. God forbid, again, how awful perception the optics, and all that. I ain't backing down. No matter how much they tell me to. Oh, you ought to be ashamed. You're talking how negative you are. What the fuck other way I could be positive about this shit? The Chronicle? Are you kidding me? SF Gate? Purple burritos and yellow houses in the Mission. And let's talk about the fact of shit that nobody gives a damn about except 20-something pimple-face assholes who eat Velveeta and fucking alfalfa sprouts for lunch. They're going to dictate my livelihood? Fuck you. Oh, he's so cynical. Yeah, I am. I am indeed. I love this area. I grew up in this area. I'm not angry. I'm kind of startled. And I said, many of you people put up with this shit. I know a lot of you have turned off media. I know exactly why the vast majority of the American public has such a disgust, such absolute contempt for media. I never thought I would be on that end of people saying, you know what, maybe they have a point. And I'm not even talking about the people here in this area, our vast cosmopolitan oasis, where we're supposed to be subjected to this on a different kind of a level because we're very smart and we're very privileged. We drive these fucking electric cars now. That's our new thing. We're supposed to be vastly more, shall we say, different than the rest. But yet, when we turn on channel 2, no wonder we're all fucked up. No wonder we have people that are so pathetic. The fact that we have no radio, we have KCBS as our alleged news presenter on radio. These morons, these schmucks, these dumbasses that they hire. Why? In the name of, being so oriented on hiring women and hiring minorities, and just who gives a damn about qualifications? Who gives a damn about experience and guile and moxie and all the shit that you're supposed to care about? One of the prerequisites of having the ability and the license, not literally, but figuratively, the license to report to this public that is so goddamn, with legitimate reasons, so weary of this stupid, pathetic media that we have here. Yes, I make observations about it every day. I do. And yes, I'm supposed to be objective, and I've tried to be. I've listened more. I've learned and given credit to some various people who do insignificant things like providing traffic reports because I don't want to be constantly negative. But what else am I supposed to be when we have the goddamn Chronicle as our newspaper of record? A company that, if it were not for Hearst Corporation, would be dead and done, which they essentially are anyway. And if you folks don't know it, and I'm critical of you, of course I am, and I'm not taking myself off of that ledger either. I talk about this shit. I give them, to some degree, if it makes any sense at all, some legitimacy by discussing all of this, by talking about this. That again, that it took a tragedy to finally show how vastly superior the LA media folks are. And they're not that much better, but they are. Case in point, look at the TV coverage down there. Listen to the radio. Talk about things that you're able to talk about, because in LA, they do have real people. They do have real reporters and anchor people. There's a few here that I've discussed that are legit. Not that they're great, but at least they're semi-competent. KCBS. Oh my God. How do they get away with it? How do they get away with it? How are they able? I guess the only good thing about their 50,000 commercials that they put on every goddamn day is the fact that the commercials obscure, literally, the fact that you have to listen to these fucking morons that they have on there as alleged anchor people in the morning, midday, in the evening, overnight. Universal scorn. Pathetic. Does the LA Times on their website have article after article after article about great burritos that you can get in LA? And by the way, LA has pretty good Mexican food, so it would be totally legit. The Chronicle or SFK, they're both the same. They keep telling each other, all of you, oh, we're different. They keep saying that we're not the same, that SF Gate is different than the SF Chronicle. Yeah, one's shittier than the other. That's what the Chronicle does. They're crappy. They're now reduced to, and I've heard this from good sources, they're printing less than 30,000 copies of the printed paper every day. Some even fewer than that, numbers wise, because you folks, well, we all have pretty much thumb down written newspapers, the printed project, and that's another story. The fact of the matter is, it is a disgrace. It is unbelievable. It is by far so sad, but understandable because the Chronicle puts to shame legitimate journalism and news gathering. It's a fact. And any day now, they're going to do away with the printed newspaper because I don't think even Hearst can continue this hemorrhaging. They understand why. Why put out a printed paper, which, goddamn it, keeps getting thinner and thinner and thinner? I can make a joke about that, but I won't. And radio, and yes, I talk about it. It is astonishing. It is sad. It is so unbelievable that in an area that is supposedly as rich and as engrossing, theoretically, allegedly, as this area, we have this shit to listen to, the little that we have to listen to every day. KNBR, a joke. The station that once had great broadcasters, people that made it an appointment radio to listen to sports, and now has on these fucking little college kids, Uber drivers, with apologies to Uber drivers, frat boys, 20 somethings who now are on the microphone, even though nobody listens. And that outlet will be again in the ground as it is pretty much. Yet we're reduced to listening to these little schmucks. Why? Because we have a company, much like the hedge fund company that owns the newspapers, some of them, decided to kill San Francisco radio. They butchered KGO, where to now even KGO doesn't even have any kind of call letters. So they could put this other crappy, syndicated, of course, outlet on. And now we're reduced to this crap. Oh, on 560 AM and 810 AM. What a bargain. I ain't backing down. I'm going to say it with vigor. What else am I supposed to say? Oh, yeah, be more positive. KNBR, a joke with a shill, an out and out shill up Larry Bear's ass and kissing all the whores and shills that he can do every other fucking day so he can pay his fucking family. KCBS. You're going to be dead any day now also. Why? Because you have an incompetent corporate company, much like Cumulus. That's what you guys do. You seek and destroy. Cumulus Boost. It's a company, an offset company of Cumulus. They've been running ads. We can boost your product. We can entertain all your great product. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna do all that. Yeah, we kill radio stations. We promote Neanderthals who don't know a goddamn thing about broadcasting and kill great radio stations. Yeah, we're gonna highlight your company and drive it into the ground also. What a joke. Channel 9. You should have been called out many, many a times, years and years and years ago. KQED. Yeah. The Chronicle. KQED. Let's charge people $50 so we can give them a $2 coffee mug and rerun Masterpiece Theater and put on a restaurant show which talks about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the Mission. Ooh, how about that nice Thai restaurant in Walnut Creek? Geez, let's talk about that because we could get some good demographics. It's Walnut Creek. Yes, I'm naive. I am thoroughly naive. I thought you all could repudiate all this shit. And by and large, you have. I'm not giving you any kind of breaking news headlines about just how shitty it's become. Your lack of participation, your continuance to reject all these bastards is proof positive. They want to know why they're losing people. They're wondering why that nobody watches local news anymore, much less nobody watches network newscasts or the networks and all this other shit that we have. Nobody has any taste anymore. And the very few people that do, they're in the minority because we've been all consumed with this other shit. And I marvel, being naive, at how we can all take this. What are we supposed to do, Rich? Good question. Good question. I don't know. I'm not coming on here and being some kind of a sage. I talked about in my earlier broadcast that I was just fed up with it all. And guess what? I can say all this and not worry about repercussions and advertisers. Oh, don't say that. It's kind of wild. You come off as being very, very sinister and all. Well, what the fuck am I supposed to be? I know people out there. I got your emails. You told me how I was right on and all. I don't mean to be in that vein. I really don't. I don't need that. Of course, what am I supposed to be? And whether it's right on or right off or whatever in the middle, maybe I'm frustrated. No, I'm not frustrated. I I never thought that this pile of crap could be so evident and so real. And look, at the end of the day, I hate that phrase. Talk about a fucking cliche. And I don't use, folks, I don't swear and use epitaphs just to use epitaphs, but we're all adults, right? We're all adults. And I don't need it to emphasize what I'm saying. I say this because I really did have an appreciation for radio here. I remember Paul Harvey and Jim Dunbar. And I mean, I didn't hear some of the people that a lot of you told me about growing up on KSFO because I wasn't born then. I'm not that old, but I really have a high regard for people and champions who care about what they broadcast, have had the gumption and the news and the entertainment and all that stuff. That's why I talk about Ron Owens. Not crazy about Ron, and it has nothing to do with his current state involving his family. But I think back to the days when I was growing up and listening to people like Ron. That was when KGO was so cool. And people like Ron and Jan Black when she was at KGO before going to KCBS when KCBS was legit, not the pile of dreck that it is today. And people like, again, Ted Wygant, Jim Eason, John Rothman. when KGO had a pulse and then some, and how they destroyed Cumulus, KGO, how they fucked up our entire social and everything media register, which was KGO. And look what we have now. And look at the so-called alleged news station. Look what they've done to KCBS, the anchor whack-a-mole. Who the hell's on today? And the morons and the rank amateurs on in the afternoon. Here's some of these reporters that they put out there, one of whom sounds like a freaking pipsqueak who just barely made it out of college in another state. We're supposed to listen to this person tell us about what's going on in the news. Give me a break. Yeah, I sound old and decrepit, then so be it. Make my day. How do we navigate this shit? How do you navigate this crap? And yes, I talk about it. I bring it up because I know there's a sizable amount of people out there. And even if they didn't agree with me, the sizable amount of people who agree and look at me as some sort of a ombudsman or whatever, an advocate, because I'm the only one who says this shit. You don't read about it in the Chronicle because the Chronicle itself is a piece of shit. Fish wrap. I feel sorry for the fish. It is mind-boggling where we're at. You don't need me to tell you that, but I'll tell you that. I don't mean this site, and me specifically, to be such a negative pasture every day. I would like to comment on things or people or segments or bosses or general managers or whatever, news directors who work and do things that have some semblance of hope, but I don't see that. I understand, therefore, the negativity. I'm just giving you what's already out there. I'm sort of kind of cementing it because I see and hear every day, sometimes by accident, this pile of out and out dreck that we have to consume. So sad as it is, I thought to myself, this is a true story. I may have intimated this. When the LA fire really took hold a couple weeks ago, I was nonstop on my iPhone listening to KNX. KNX. And yes, of course, they're based there, but they're old school. They're LA media at its finest. They still have qualified people, as I have stated many, many of times. You've heard me. And the LA Times. It's not the LA Times of old, but it still is a decent paper. Hell, compared to the Chronicle, give me a break. The television news stations, the KTLAs, the KCALs, the KCBSs, which is the TV news CBS station down in LA. At least they have competent people. At least, and again, it's LA. I get it. But still, we're a number 5 market, number 8, I think, for television, 5 for radio. We have no radio. I keep saying it. Look at what we've been reduced to, and it is so sad. And I talk about it all the time. I know that, folks. But what else am I supposed to say that is enlightening and positive? And look, I wish I can be more positive. I wish I can be more, shall we say, descriptive of people who cared and have some modicum of craft and all that, but can't do it right now. We're done in that regard. The only thing we can hope for is, I don't know, hope. Inspire me. Tell me something that maybe I'm not aware of. Somebody wrote a comment KCEA all day. KCEA is some little radio station based down, it's an FM station down on the peninsula out of a little high school. And they play big band music and retro stuff. And yeah, it's a joy to listen to, like KCSM, jazz and all the old standards of jazz and that kind of a thing. It is a pleasure to listen to. Occasionally, you got to break from those and have to go back to whatever we constitute as news and information and all that. And then you're reduced to this pile of drivel. There, I won't swear. I I don't know what else to say. I don't want to repeat myself, and I know a lot of you think, well, God, can't you be a little bit more optimistic? I'll tell you what, the moment I see some light or shed some light, I'll be more optimistic. In the meantime, please keep watching. If you agree with me, great. If you disagree with me, or if you're somewhere in the middle, which I don't know if you could be in the middle in something like all this, tell me. Enlighten me. Educate me. Make a fair point. Don't give me crap about my tone. My tone is self evident, it's based upon what's already out there. I've been consistent. You don't have to participate in this. You don't have to watch me. I don't force any of you to watch me. And if you're going to make little jokes about not contributing donation wise to me anymore, go ahead. Get your rocks off. Be excited and happy. Great. What am I supposed to say? One thing about me, this is to conclude, as I have always stated, and I always will as long as I am right here, then and now. I am not anonymous. I don't make anonymous rips and insults and deal with painting people as schmucks and putzes and shills and advertisers. I am public about it. I do not hide behind this keyboard, and I am open. Therefore, the other cowards who will lambast me and try to satirize me and put me in purgatory, yet hide and do anonymous shit, are cowards beyond cowards. At least I am not that way. At least I am not anonymous and very public about my feelings about the state of our sad, sad Bay Area media and otherwise.